You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers about hikers for everybody.
Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, the ultimate midlife crisis. Join Steve and his guests every week as he staggers from Georgia to Maine.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. This is episode number 518 in the podcast, and we've got another really good show for you today. First up, we're going to meet Emily Manzon, or Tic Tac, who was looking for something epic to celebrate turning 40. She decided that the Appalachian Trail would fit the bill, so at the end of March, she set out from Springer. A health issue forced her off trail along the way, but she returned a few weeks later, some 200 miles further up the trail, and continued all the way to Katahdin. That made her a 2,000-miler, but she returned to the trail after a week back home and had a more solitary experience heading south to finish at, of all places, the wonderful Woods Hole Hostel. Emily will be along in a moment to tell you more about it. After Emily, I was privileged to have Dan Durston at the other end of the microphone as he helped me make up my mind on the Durston tents I've been looking at. Dan was very patient, telling me all I needed to know about his tents, and he gave me the information I've been hoping for as he led me towards my choice. In my accountability blog, after we hear from Dan, I'll tell you the choice I've made and have now ordered. I could not be more pleased. Thanks to all of you who have continued to reach out with encouragement over my upcoming hike. It seems you like the accountability blog, which is handy because I'm enjoying doing it and learning myself plenty of stuff I didn't know. All that is to come though, and we'll start out by meeting Emily Manzon, or Tic Tac. Here she is. We have Emily Manzon on the show today, or Tic Tac. Hey Emily, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Now, the reason you can probably hear the smile in our voices. I've tried the introduction about 5 times. I've got her last name wrong a couple of times. I've got the trail name wrong, but I think we've got it right now. So let's start with, why are you Tic Tac?
The short story is that I am adamant about checking for ticks, and I do it every night. And sometimes I enlist the help of friends. That
sounds very fun.
An ounce of prevention.
There you go. Did you find any?
No, actually, I never had any attached on me on the trail.
What did you do? Did you spray yourself every day? Or, what was your method of keeping them away?
I treated my clothes before I got on trail, and then a few times while I was on trail. Tucked my pants into my socks. Yeah, I wore pants the entire time, even during the heat wave, to cover my skin. And just checked every night.
Funny enough, you've just given me a reminder. That's something that's not on my list. I'm going again on the 18 next year for a through hike, and I haven't put in there I've got a permethrin in all my stuff. So thank you for reminding me of that. I will definitely be doing that. Yes. You recently finished your 80 through hike. So the first question, I guess, is how are you feeling right now?
Hungry. The hiker hunger still hasn't completely subsided. I'm eating every 2 hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And limping around a bit still, but all in all, it's really nice to be back someplace with heat and a mattress after months of living in the woods. The creature comforts, I'm really appreciating those.
Yeah, flushing toilets is something we never appreciate until we miss them, do we?
Absolutely.
So I've often wondered that because I know I handled it very badly. When I lose catastrophic amounts of weight. I lost 60 pounds my first through hike, 55 my second through hike. I put it all on with interest, obviously. So I guess, are you trying to eat little bits to try to keep the weight down? I mean, what are you doing? Did you lose much weight on trail?
I didn't. I think I lost around 10 pounds. And probably most of that was due to norovirus.
Oh, nice.
But, I just snack a lot. I've got snacks in my hip belt so I can munch while I hike.
Sure.
I'm just constantly munching on things.
You're not walking around with a hip belt now with snacks in there just to keep topped up as you go around the house.
No, but I have snacks in my car now, in my pockets. Everywhere I go, there's snacks.
Of course you do. And you actually only got into backpacking during the pandemic. Apparently you said, I'm going to do something epic for my 40th birthday. Was there a moment of clarity when you made the decision to do the 80, or you just wanted to do something epic? Or did it have to be backpacking related?
Oh, yes. So I had recently moved to North Carolina,
Right.
and I came from the Midwest where we don't have mountains. So
Mm.
getting into the mountains felt so exotic and new to me. I just wanted to see what it was like in there.
Did you move to North Carolina for a job or for the mountains?
I knew I wanted to move to North Carolina for the mountains and the oceans, and so
Right.
then I found a job to have an excuse to do that.
And talking about your job, you dismantled an incredibly stable life to chase this dream. I know you're a research scientist. Take me back to the day you actually quit your job. What was running through your mind? Were you nervous about it?
Right. Leaving my job was the hardest part about getting ready for my through hike.
Hmm.
I loved what I did. I loved the people I work with, but I also didn't want to put this dream on hold until retirement and make my job the sole focus of my life.
Quite right, too.
Um, and I'm so glad, honestly, that I prioritized doing this through hike because while I was on the trail, my company that I worked for did layoffs and I would have lost my job anyhow. So,
No.
yes, the security I thought I had there wasn't there. And so I'm really thankful that I prioritized this dream instead of waiting until retirement for it.
But if nothing else, it does tend to show, you can't, our tomorrow isn't given, is it? You've got to do
Exactly.
stuff you want to do when you can do it because you might not be able to do it in the future. And if you'd lost your job, you may not be able to afford to do it in the future.
Absolutely.
And as a research scientist, did you approach the trail a bit like an experiment, gear tests, data, spreadsheets, or was this one part of your life where you literally decided to go with the flow?
Oh, I don't think I ever turn off the scientist aspect of
Oh,
me.
right.
I think one of my mottos was it's either a good time or a good story. Let's just try it out and see. Maybe if we go on this blue bays, will be an epic view, or maybe it won't. But we only know if we try it out.
Yeah.
You got to experiment. You got to try things out.
So you let the trail unfold. But did you have a spreadsheet? Because a lot of people seem to have spreadsheets so that they know where they're going to be on day 47 or something like that.
I had downloaded the AWOL, how many miles a day average you're planning on doing. I had that on my phone so I could kind of plan how much
Right.
food I needed between resupply towns. But no, I mostly just kind of went on vibes. I did not follow that spreadsheet at all.
So what about gear? How did you sort your gear out? I mean, did you take advice from people or did you go on YouTube like most people do? Go down the YouTube rabbit hole and see 500 different tents? Because I'm looking at tents right now and there are so many choices. It's amazing.
Actually, I am not a YouTuber. I got on the trek.com has a list of their recommended gear. They
Oh,
also do a through hiker survey every year, so you can see what the most popular equipment is. And I followed that. That helped guide me quite a bit on what I needed, as well as what the recommended equipment was.
so tell us then, what was your, because I know my listeners are interested in gear, but I really am because I'll be getting stuff next year. So what tent did you take?
I have the big Agnes copper spur, and I have the one person because I am 5 foot even. So I don't need a lot of leg room at night. That was someplace that I could cut some weight was by carrying a smaller tent.
Right. Well, how did that go? Was it quite a good tent for you?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Plenty of space in there.
I know that's come up as really popular. It's not ultralight, is it? But it's one of the more popular tents on trail. And what about your backpack? Because I'm also looking at backpacks.
I ended up with the Osprey Asia, which is
Never heard of that. I've heard of Osprey, but not heard of the Osprey Asia. No.
spelled EJA. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. I'm looking
Oh,
at it
okay.
right now.
Okay.
Um,
And that worked out for you as well?
Yeah, I actually changed into that backpack in Pennsylvania. I had a bigger backpack before that was not fitting me right. And a through hiker looked at me and said, "Hey, that frame is too big for you." So I upgraded to a smaller backpack that fit my frame better.
Well, funny
enjoyed
enough,
it.
when I went second time in 2019, I went across across Florida to Melbourne, Florida, to where Z-Packs live, and they fitted me for a backpack. And I'm a big guy. I was 6 foot. I think I was 6'3" at the time. I think I'm only 6'1" now. As you get older, you start shrinking. But I was shocked when they told me that I needed a medium pack. I said, I've never been medium in my life. I've been big. But yeah, I tried on a large automatically. They said, you shouldn't be wearing that. You should be wearing a medium. So were you fitted for the pack?
Yes, the original pack I was fitted for, and I don't know if we didn't do that correctly because I actually needed to be in a smaller frame.
Now, you went on a couple of shakedowns, including one a week long, and you said that being alone for a week was big and scary. Was there a moment that flipped that fear into confidence, or did you have to wait till you got back out on trail to, back on onto the AT to do your through hike?
Right. My first night ever backpacking alone, there was a big storm that came through. Apparently, there was some tornadoes that touched down in the
Oh my
area.
gosh! Wow.
And so I was totally alone. I ended up setting up my tent in the shelter, which you're not supposed to do, but I was alone. I could hear trees crashing down around me at night, and
Wow, really?
I got no sleep. I practiced a lot of deep breathing, played some games on my phone, and just learned to sit with fear.
Right.
And the next morning, I got out of my tent and the sun was shining, and I felt like I had conquered fear. I came out of that night a different person.
I was about to say that you fed on the fear, and that gave you that confidence to do it.
Absolutely. I felt like backpacking teaches you to learn how to sit with being uncomfortable.
Sure. All the time. All the bloody time.
You're always uncomfortable in some capacity. But that makes you stronger when you don't fear being uncomfortable anymore and you just learn to sit with it. And that's what I love about it.
I kind of almost enjoy it sometimes.
Yeah.
And part of it is that thing, I'm going to bloody get through this. I'm definitely going to get through this. You're kind of singing to yourself in your mind and trying not to be too nervous about things. I know my first night on the trail alone was after 400 miles in my first through hike. And I was nervous that night, but, I woke up in the morning and I wasn't dead. So, it was okay. And the sun, once the sun comes out, it sheds a wonderful light on everything, especially in the woods. And, you think, okay, I got through that night. But before you went on trail, you did do a backyard freeze test. Did you freeze? Was it a particularly cold night or what?
Yeah, it doesn't get terribly cold where I live. And so I wanted to test out my gear, but didn't have any opportunities until a Wednesday night. It looked like it was going to get around freezing. And so I said, here's my chance. Quickly set up my tent in my backyard and had camped in my backyard that night to test out my sleeping bag, my sleeping liner, make sure that was warm enough.
It was, I presume.
I was uncomfortable, but it was warm enough.
Did you sleep though?
I didn't.
All right. Well, there you go.
I stayed out there for 2 hours. I told myself I had to watch a movie, and then I went back into my more comfortable house.
I can't believe you stayed out for just 2 hours. You told me you did a backyard freeze test, which I assume it presupposed you were going to be out there all night, but clearly you didn't. How about that? That's funny.
My bed was right there.
That was funny. And you mentioned earlier on that your motto was it's either a good time or a good story. Mm-hmm. Give me an example where it was definitely not a good time, but it turned into a great story later.
Oh, gosh. One night, the guys I was backpacking with and I set up our tents. We thought some rain was going to come, so we set up our tents by a shelter, but we were not in the shelter. And about an hour after we set up, it started hailing, just giant ice balls the size of quarters.
Oh, yeah.
And we stayed in our tents for a while, decided to run out and get under the shelter, and just watched our gear get pelted by rain and hail. Wow. And it's one of my favorite stories to tell people is like, look at the size of these hail balls.
Yeah, they're nasty. I remember standing under a tree once and it was pelting with rain. Suddenly the rain turned into hailstones and they got bigger and bigger and bigger. And my temperature started spiraling down rapidly. So I thought the only thing I could do is just go out into it because I was hiding under a tree. So I wasn't getting hit by too many hailstones, but I was getting hit by enough. The only way to do it was just to walk through it and keep going. There's nothing you can do, is there? And standing still on trail is probably the worst thing you can do. Just keep moving and you'll get through it. And you talked to me the other week about being hiker trash with pride, wearing a Hawaiian shirt and a floral crown on the top of Katad, which, by the way, is an awesome picture. And I'm going to put that as the main picture on your show notes. How did that transformation affect you personally? Particularly as I would imagine that research scientists are about as unlike hiker trash as you could find anywhere.
Yeah, I think that there comes a point during your through hike where you are so dirty and so stinky and you're so hungry. You go into town and you're like, look, I know I'm not following social norms right now. And I just don't care.
Right.
And I think there's something very freeing about not caring what other people think about you. You can kind of get back into your true self of, I'm going to wear a goofy Hawaiian shirt because that makes me happy. You kind of get back to your truer self when you're hiker trash.
People may disagree with me, but I found that many of the women, particularly who normally tend to take better care of themselves than men do anyway, they're neater, they're tidier, shave legs, all that sort of nonsense. But men don't give a crap normally anyway. But women on trail, I found, absolutely embraced that almost feral state of being. Were you aware of it being quite feral and welcome to sort of bring it on?
Absolutely. I was calling myself feral all the time. I think when you give yourself fewer rules, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Just being a little wild in the woods.
Yeah, wild in the woods is a good idea, actually. Yeah. And you were expecting to meet backpackers in your first week, but you didn't, you said. Yet you were eventually in and out of several tramlers during your hike. What did that solo hiking and that group hiking teach you about connection and independence on the trail? Can you contrast those two experiences of being with people and not being with people?
So actually I started my hike alone, but I did meet a friend that I ended up hiking with for 3 weeks on the stairs at Amicalola Falls. So I did not start alone for long.
Okay. Right.
But yeah, I kind of imagined before I got on trail that I would have one tramily that I'd be with from start to finish. And because of different pacing with different people, I was in and out of tramlies. And I'm glad it ended up that way. I think that it was such a privilege to be a part of so many different people's stories and have so many people be a part of my stories when I was hiking with tramlies. But I also was so grateful for the experience of the times I had alone really made me stronger and more confident in myself, as well as you get more time for reflection when you're alone.
And I know that you were talking about doing the PCT next year. I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit here. Would you be more open to hiking by yourself or hiking with a group next year?
Oh, I would love to go with a group. There are things like the Sierras that sound quite intimidating to me. There's snow on the ground. Yeah. But yes, I think there's definitely something to be said for, at least during the day, having some times where you go off by yourself, or some nights where you camp by yourself. I think it's important to have moments of introspection as well.
I agree with that. But you can, and I'm just speaking from personal experience here, you can kind of get down yourself if you're by yourself in a miserable situation, can't you? How'd you combat that?
Oh gosh. Yeah, that's the hard thing, right? Your thoughts can spiral, you can ruminate. Sometimes too much time in your head can feel like torture. One of my hiking friends told me to notice 5 things for each sense. As you're hiking, think about 5 things you hear. Think about 5 things you see. Think about 5 things you smell. And that makes you so much more attuned to your surroundings instead of just cranking out the miles. Suddenly I'm noticing birds. Suddenly I'm looking at ferns that I was just breezing on by. And that's a great way to kind of focus your mind on the present instead of letting your thoughts spiral.
What a great thing to say. And I never thought about that. So kudos to whoever said that to you, but kudos to you for letting me know. So I'll think about that myself when I do that, because I know that when I went out there, certainly the first time, I refused to put headphones in at all. I was walking without headphones or listening to sounds, and I was inside my head, thinking about myself, and I drove myself crazy. So after about 800 miles, I thought, I've got to put headphones in. I've got to listen to somebody else talking, not myself screaming at me. And you went to trail days. Tell us about that, because it's one of those things that you see people at trail days, especially when, in my case, I was an author trying to sell books, but you saw through hikers there, they just look different to the rest of us. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to be one of those guys next year at trail days. So what was trail days like for you?
Right. So trail days last year was actually what tipped the scales for me, and that I knew after that experience that I wanted to do a through hike.
Oh,
I went to Trail Days in 2024 just as a spectator, saw the community around the AT, how these thru hikers looked so beaten down, so worn down, and yet
yes,
so joyful,
yes.
as well as the instant camaraderie of these people having this shared experience that they're trying to get through together. And that made me decide I need to have that in my life. I want to be a thru hiker as well.
Wow. So did you go to Trail Days on your through hike as well or not?
I did.
And how different was it to go as one of those scrubby, beaten down people?
What a joy to walk in the parade and to get sprayed down by super soakers because I'm a grubby hiker.
Yeah,
I loved it. It was so much fun.
I bet it was. Did you stay in the field or in the woods?
I camped in the woods.
Did you?
Tent city
What was
in the
that like?
woods.
I've never been in. I've been in Trail Days about 4 or 5 times. I don't think I've ever been in the woods there, but I intend to go and camp there next year. I would normally stay in a bed and breakfast, but sorry, I'm going to stay in the woods next year. Yeah, I've committed myself to that. How about that?
All right. It's a little wild in the woods at night. It's rather fun because there's all these different bonfires, and each one has a different vibe. Some people are sitting around playing acoustic guitar. Riff Raff has a dance party with laser lights going. There's a giant fire where there's a drum circle and people are walking around like some sort of human sacrifice is about to be made. It's all different vibes in the woods. You just got to walk around and experience it for yourself.
Damn right. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that a lot as well, actually. And I know that you skipped 200 miles in Virginia and then went back to finish after you'd done Katahdin on Halloween.
Mhm.
Why did you skip that part? And was there ever any doubt in your mind that you'd not go back?
Oh, I was a little bit worried about that. So earlier in the summer, I had some health problems and needed to take some time off trail to recover from that. Was feeling a little nervous that I wasn't going to get to Katahdin before it shut down for the winter, and so
Right.
I skipped 200 miles so that it would get me where I needed to be. But yes, I was a little bit worried that by the time I got to Katahdin, I would be so broken and battered I wouldn't be able to go back.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of a mental challenge when I got back on trail then in Virginia to make up that section because it was such a different experience than I had just left when I was
Yeah.
going with my northbound bubble of friends.
Yeah.
When
I
I
want to talk about that in a minute, but I'm really thinking, did you think when you got to Katahdin, because it's a special day, and I want to talk about your Katahdin in a minute as well, actually, did you think, do I need to go back? Because you'd done your 2,000 miles by then, virtually, hadn't you?
I had done my 2,000 miles. I did have that thought, but also knowing me, I wasn't going to be happy doing 90% of the trail. I wanted to say that I hiked every single mile.
It's the right answer, by the way. Just say that. Yeah. And when you actually went home, and I'm not going to inquire about what your health issues were, just hopefully you recovered from them and you got back on trail not too early, because some people often do that. What was it like being at home again, having been that hiker trash for a while? Did you get down a bit about being home? Because most people miss the trail so much and they kind of just can't wait to get back there.
I was off for a week and it was hard. I spent a lot of time on Instagram following my thru hiker friends and seeing what they were up to and having a lot of FOMO, fear of missing out, that I was not getting those experiences with them. I was so antsy to get back on trail.
So the 200 miles that you missed, I presume then, was to catch up with them again.
No, I actually just got back on 200 miles because I wanted to be part of the 2,000 mile club. So that's why I skipped exactly 200 so that I guess when I summited Katahdin, that could technically be the end of my hike.
So that was the research scientist thinking ahead. I like that. Yeah, very cool.
Absolutely.
So
all about the numbers.
So was your Katahdin moment a little bit bittersweet, or were you able to celebrate the moment with your friends at the top because you knew you still were going to go back?
Right. I had a little part of me that was like, well, it's not really over. I've got unfinished business. But there definitely was the bittersweetness of having completed this epic journey with these friends and now having to say goodbye to them.
Sure. I tell you don't look like you're having a bad time at the top of Katahdin. You look like you're having a real good time at the top of Katahdin.
Oh, there were so many happy tears. It was actually lovely because a thru hiker had gotten up ahead of me. And so he got to the Katahdin sign first, and there was a group of day hikers there. And he said, hey, a thru hiker's coming, and she's about to finish her journey. Everyone applaud and cheer for her. So as I approached the sign, I had about 15 people clapping and cheering for me. And I was just bawling tears of happiness, relief, sadness, all the feelings. It was just a very epic moment.
So you went from there. Did you go back home first, or did you go back straight to the Sobo section?
No, I took a week and a half off trail to stay with friends.
I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you do that sort of thing. I would have to get it done, get it out of the way. It would drive me crazy. So how did that final Sobo section feel compared to your earlier months with all your friends?
Oh, it was so different. Going Nobo, I was with people or around people constantly. And when I get on trail again in Virginia, going Sobo, there was nobody. So it's quite a different experience doing this alone. Did
you enjoy it still? Do you enjoy it still, though?
The first couple of nights were very difficult being alone. But then I did have a moment. One day I was hiking in the rain and had one of those moments that, like, look, you got to embrace the suck. I put on some epic music, got some beautiful views of the mountains in the mist, and said, you know what, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And that kind of shifted my mindset. From I miss my friends, this is sad, this is different, to this is where I'm supposed to be. And I'm growing in a different way by doing this alone.
Yeah, definitely. No question. It's a different test for you, isn't it? And you finished the journey at one of my absolute favourite places on the entire trail. So everybody knows I'm about to say Woods Hole Hostel, because I always mention it. Describe that moment walking into Neville's place.
Oh, it's just lovely. It's such a magical place at Woods Hole. There's so much heart there. Neville is such a wonderful person. It was a really great way to end my journey.
Were there friends there, or were you by yourself?
No, my parents drove down from Michigan to meet me at the finish line.
Nice.
My mom made a beautiful sign saying 2,200 miles with balloons and banners, and she's wonderful at making a special experience out of anything. So they were there to cheer me at the finish line.
I bet they're proud of you. By the way, what did they say when you first said you wanted to do? I know you're in your, well, you said you wanted to do something epic for your 40s, so you're obviously in your early 40s. What was their reaction when you said you were going to go in the first place? Because you're still their kid, even though you're 40 years old. You'll never get over that.
Yeah, so they've been nothing but supportive. My parents are wonderful, but I also know that they were very worried about it, especially going to the trail alone, starting alone.
Sure.
They had their concerns about their daughter being out there by herself, but they've been incredibly supportive. My mom started making freeze-dried meals for me when she discovered I was eating ramen every night. I decided that she needed to put some of that nervous energy into something productive, so went out and bought a dehydrator and started making meals to send me on trail.
Does she want to flog it to me? I'll buy it.
They're so good. Let me tell you, they were lovely.
All right. So, and you finished now, it's about a month ago, is it? You finished Halloween, so less than only about two or 3 weeks ago. What's been the hardest part about re-entry, into real life again?
Oh gosh. I was expecting it to be harder, honestly. A lot of people had warned me that it's so depressing getting off trail, that you feel disoriented. And honestly, that's not been my experience. And maybe it still has yet to kick in.
Yeah, maybe.
But I've really been enjoying creature comforts like a bed and a toilet again.
Yeah, it's funny actually how you do enjoy those things. Enjoying a toilet and enjoying a shower was something that takes on a whole new meaning when you get home, doesn't it? And you told me your body's a bit antsy and your foot's hurting. How do you balance that urge to move with the need to heal? Because you do need to heal. It is a physical. I don't know. It's a smacks you around the head the whole trail, doesn't it? So how do you get that balance right? Are you still walking much, or are you just pretty much resting all the time?
I bought a used bike on Facebook Marketplace so that I could take up a new low-impact hobby, get off my feet a little bit, but still move around. So I'm starting to bicycle a lot now.
All right, very cool. And has the trail changed what you want from your next chapter, professionally and personally? I mean, are you going back to research science, or are you going to treat hiking as not your job, but something you're going to be doing over the next few years?
Oh, no. I loved the job I had. I definitely want to go back to research science. I'm looking for a job now. I wouldn't say that my through hike changed the trajectory of my life all that much. It was just an extra bonus, like a cherry on top, more than a pivotal moment for me.
Well, we haven't mentioned it already. My last main question is, you mentioned the other day that you felt the need to rebuild your life. What does that rebuild look like now that you've had a taste of trail freedom? Because people get a different perspective from the trail to what perhaps they thought they were going to think when, once they started out.
That's a great question. Rebuilding my life looks like finding a new job, getting back settled into where I'm living.
Are you looking to buy a place, rent a place, or are you looking for the job first and finding out where that is and then going from there to where you're going to live?
Yes, looking for a job first, then looking for a place to settle down after that. I'm back in the area where I was living before, and happy to be back with my friends and my support system that I had cheering me on back at home.
And I mentioned earlier, of course, you were talking about the PCT. In fact, I believe you had, in my notes, maybe wrong here, but you had a permit to start the PCT this year, didn't you?
Yes. So I knew I wanted to do a thru hike in 2025 and had been planning on doing the AT. And then Hurricane Helene hit, and I read a New York Times article that said 1/3 of the Appalachian Trail would be unhikeable this year. And so that's when I registered for a PCT permit, said, well, I guess I'm doing the Pacific Crest Trail instead. Got an excellent start date, but then more news trickled in that they were cleaning up the AT. The volunteers did just an incredible job of making that trail hikeable again. So I gave up my PCT permit because I knew I wanted the Appalachian Trail to be my first thru hike. It's close to home, close to my heart. I thought my first thru hike would be a special one. So
it obviously was.
It was, absolutely. But now I do have the the urge to do the PCT at some point.
Oh, yeah. Of course you do. Well, look, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. It's one that, people will hear with a lot of pleasure, I'm sure, because, you've got off your arse in the age of 40, which is an unusual age to go. So I admire you for that. Although I'm told that these days, more and more people in their 40s are literally getting out of their comfortable lives and throwing it all in for this beautiful walk in the woods. So I admire you for doing that and appreciate you coming and telling your story.
No, thank you for having me.
Okay. Well, take it easy and let me know if you got the PCT and we'll speak to you again about that.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, there was one more thing. So tell me, when we spoke before, you said you found some pretty uncomfortable places to camp. So tell us what they were.
Yes, some of the most uncomfortable places to sleep end up making the most epic nights. One night, we got up to the top of Smarts Mountain. There's a fire tower up there.
Oh, yeah.
It has some windows and walls, but some of the windows were broken open, and it looked like it was going to be a cold, windy night. We decided to sleep up there anyhow, and it made one of the most epic sunsets. In the middle of the night, there was stars all around us, and then we woke up early to watch the sunrise in the morning. Definitely worth the cold, breezy night.
That's embracing the suck, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm glad I remembered that at the end. Have I missed anything else at all?
Oh gosh, no, I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
Okay. Well, thanks again so much for doing this. Research science notwithstanding, I look forward to hearing about your PCT through hike, followed undoubtedly by the CDT for the Triple Crown shortly after. And I just wish you well in getting the job that you want and also getting on the hikes you want to do. And hopefully I'll follow you if you do those hikes again.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
Cheers then. Bye.
Bye.
She wasn't at all like I'd imagined a research scientist to be. She was feisty, yet self-reflective and self-aware, which is quite a combination. I really liked a couple of things she said, phrases that perfectly summed up what it's like to be out there. She said that uncomfortable places make memorable nights. That is so true. Some of my most vivid memories on trail are times I spent in my tent with the weather raging outside. It wasn't in the least bit comfortable, but the feeling you get when you wake up the following morning is a quiet satisfaction that you made it. You didn't die, and you can handle tough things. It's quite an empowering thought, just when you may need an empowering thought. And the other thing that Emily said was that her approach to the AT was that it was a good time or a good story. Hey, we've all experienced that. The whole concept of embracing the suck is to take positives from difficult times, and having that attitude gives you a coping mechanism that only helps you along the way. Thanks go this week to our recurring donors, which is actually a dwindling group of heroes, as several of you have converted your support to our Buy Me a Coffee membership. But those who came to us through the donor pages on the website are, this week, James Boyd, Michael Garsh, Kevin Eastman, Ann Dobson, and Mike DiCello. I think that Mike was our very first supporter, so thanks, Mike. And all of you have stepped up once more, along with our growing group of Buy Me a Coffee members. The end of the month is always the most expensive time for podcasters, so the fact that we can now more than cover those expenses is a real blessing. Thanks to all of you. Now let's meet Dan Durston, the owner of Durston Gear, who agreed to come on and let me ask him a bunch of dumb questions as I made my mind up on which of his tents I was going to buy. Here's Dan. I am delighted to be able to introduce the owner of Durston Gear, Dan Durston. Hey, Dan, thanks for taking the time to come onto the podcast.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me.
As I mentioned to you in my email, I'm going to be going for my third through hike next year. Yep, there's no fool like an old fool.
Amazing.
And I need a new tent. I reached out to my audience, and the Durston tents came up more than any other. In fact, 2 or 3 to 1.
Wow.
So my quandary, though, is which one to buy. It's a bit like going to a record shop. You've got so many different options out there, and I hope you can help me with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So let's start with the X mid-range, which I know was your first, the original, and it was absolutely a game changer on trail because suddenly the trail was filled up with Durston tents very quickly. What hole in the market were you looking to fill, or did you just think, I think I can do better with than what's on sale now?
Yeah. I come at this from the perspective, like a lot of people, as just a passionate hiker. I'm out there hiking. I was on a through hike when I thought of the X mid, and so
really?
I was on a 5-month through hike, a yo-yo of the Great Divide Trail in the Canadian Rockies. So that was about 1,500 miles. So I'm looking to solve problems that I'm having, and one of the issues that I was having is that it felt like a lot of trekking pole tents were pretty complicated. Where it's not that you can't do it. It's not like I need it to be easy because I'm not good at pitching a tent. It's just nice to have when you're tired and it's a long day and the weather's bad. You don't really want to be fiddling with tents. And I had some pyramid tents that I really appreciated how they were simple, but the space wasn't very good. And then I felt like all the tents that had good space were these complicated things. So I was thinking about that and thinking about how I could get 2 trekking poles in a tent that's otherwise pretty simple with a rectangle base and things like that. So, like, long story short, the X-Mid came out of a desire to make a tent that's simple and still more spacious and just offered a better all-around balance. Initially for like a more like advanced user, like people on a long through hike, things like that. Sure. But it had the side effect of when you cut out a bunch of the complexity, it's just more accessible to everybody. And so I think we did, to an extent, expand the market for trekking pole tents because people that were maybe a little bit intimidated to try one were like, okay, like I think I could manage that. It's you stake a rectangle. I think. You
know what? It always amuses me the things people think about on a through hike.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you actually started a business on the basis of a through hike, but most of us think about what we can do when we get back. But you obviously really sort of got into it, and the range has really expanded now. I was on your website this morning, and I have been a few times now with the 1s, the 2s, the Pro 1s, the Pro 2s. And the solid. Now, can I clear up one thing straight away, though? Is solid a kind of modesty innovation?
Some people would have that value. The root of it is more in European hiking culture, but it's not just Europe, but a lot of areas where people are hiking in tougher conditions, whether it's cold or just a lot of condensation, things like that. In those conditions, people like to have the interior walls not be mesh, but be a solid fabric. So in Europe, when we talk about double wall tents, in North America, those could really be any tent with 2 different walls. But in Europe, they don't really consider it a double wall if the interior walls are mesh. And so it is a version aimed more at colder conditions and the shoulder season or people who just sleep cold.
Oh, interesting though. So does it actually, have you tested how much of a difference it makes in terms of internal temperature? For a long time, it was always pretty informal. It was just like, that's got to help some. We did have a YouTuber doing
like everybody wants it and it seems warmer. But we did have a YouTuber do a nice video, Justin Outdoors, did a nice video just a month or 2 ago where he actually used temperature loggers inside and outside the tent to see how much difference it would make. I've always thought it would be more like 2 or 3 degrees, like pretty small, but he was getting, it varied, of course, but he was getting more like 5 or 6 degrees.
Wow.
So it's something. Like, still, for sure, your sleeping system's your main source of staying warm, your pad and your sleeping bag or quilt, but it helps a bit.
Well, that's made up one decision. I don't want that. And the reason I don't want that, I want the mesh because I like to be able to, especially as you've got such a big vestibule, I'd like to be able to see it. I like to be able to see the whole area of the tent. So I'm definitely going to go for mesh. That's made my mind up straight away.
Yeah.
So talk to me about the X-Mids then. Are they in a constant development and evolution, or do you think you've gone as far as you can with the X-Mids? And that's why you started thinking about the X-Dome, or are those things entirely unrelated?
I'm a huge fan of constant improvement. Something that we do that's a little bit different is we're really connected to our customer base. Like we come from the hiking community, we are actively engaged in the community, and we don't think we have all the good ideas. Like, we get emails every day of people that, we try to design the best thing we can, but also people are going to have good ideas. So we're always listening to those too, in a very curated way, of course. If we tried to do what everybody wants, we'd have like this crazy Frankenstein tent. But all it is to say, we get a lot of feedback, and we are always trying to improve. And so the X-Mids came out in 2018. We did a Gen 2 around 2021 and a Gen 2 around 2025. So it is on the 3rd gen. And by generation, I mean like it would totally change the main shape. But almost every production run, we're actually making changes, just like add a loop, make this work a little better, add a little space, whatever it could be. It's good. It slows down because when you first put out a product, there's like, you get a wave of suggestions and a wave of ideas. But over time, you get closer, but it won't stop. We're roughly 6 years into the X-Mid, and we still update it almost every production run. But
then you came up with the X-Dome.
Yeah.
And I didn't quite realize, so I've been looking at the X-Dome more than the X-Mid, and I didn't realize actually how much considerably cheaper it is relative to the X-Mid. Why did you decide to develop a new tent, or was it price point, or what was it? Because it looks like a completely different tent.
So the X-Mid that we came out with first it's a trekking pole supported tent, and that's what I was using and what I mostly use. Using at the time and mostly use, and a lot of really weight focused people will use. And that had a lot of benefits in terms of simplicity and space. And another big area was protection, like a fly first pitch. We were big advocates for polyester fabric that dries faster and doesn't sag like most nylon tents does.
Right.
So we were very happy with the X-Mid. I don't have any ambitions of making like a whole bunch of different trekking pole tents, because I'm trying to like decide on what fundamental shape and geometry do I think is the best, and then develop that, not sort of give people 5 different, almost the same things to choose from. But the other big, huge part of the tent market, of course, is freestanding tents. And a trekking pole tent's not going to make that much sense for people that don't use trekking poles. You can get some folding poles and you can still save a little bit of weight, but you're saving less weight because you're not able to take advantage of trekking poles that you already have. So now you've got to bring other poles. So for this huge chunk of the market that wants a lot of things that our tents offer, like simplicity and non-sag fabrics and a fly first pitch, and just a big focus on user friendliness. But the trekking pole tents don't actually make sense for them because they don't carry trekking poles. So we do see people that are using them when maybe it's not the right tent for them. So the X-Dome tents came out of a desire to make a freestanding tent for people that either value the convenience of freestanding because they're in areas where the effort to have to think about stakes isn't worth it for them, whether it's on
that is the biggest, to me, especially on the AT. The fact that freestanding, I tried to set up a few times with my old tent, which was not freestanding originally, and I found it difficult always. I was always pitching in slightly the wrong direction, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So the fact you can literally pick the thing up is a massive thing as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's like whether you go non-freestanding, it's very much a real trade-off. We always say with our gear, like a lot of companies will say like we make no compromises and no trade-offs, and we're more like, well, everything's a trade-off or a compromise or balance. Like if you're going to save weight with non-freestanding, there is a requirement for stakes, of course, and that is an obligation that's on the user that not everybody wants. So for the freestanding tents are ideal for people that value that convenience. And how much somebody's going to value it's going to depend on where they camp. If they camp on wonderful dirt all the time, it's not that hard to stake it out. Whereas if they camp on rock and sand, it's more of a burden. You can do it, absolutely. Like our tents, I think the X-Mid is the most popular tent last year on the Appalachian Trail. Appalachian Trail. I'm in Canada, so I'm like still learning Appalachian.
Yeah. But I was told, boy, you're doing it wrong. And for a Brit to be told I was speaking wrong was pretty hurtful. But Appalachian apparently is what it should be when you're south of the Mason-Dixon line. Yeah.
So the X-Men is very popular there, and it absolutely can work. But there's also a lot of people who, in those conditions, are going to value a more kind of controlled, convenient experience with a freestanding tent. Whether they value that or whether they just don't use trekking poles, for either of those reasons, they would be lending themselves more towards a freestanding tent. And so with the X Dome, I wanted to rethink freestanding tents to be still have a lot of the benefits that we offer with our X-Mid tents. Because if you look at the state of the market right now on freestanding tents, they're predominantly nylon, like almost exclusively nylon, which absorbs water, and so it expands, it swells, and it's slow to dry. And they're predominantly interior first pitching, so that you throw up the interior and then you fly on, and that's fine. But if it's pouring rain, it's a hassle. And like, yes, there are ways to sort of reverse the order, but you need to sort of buy the ground sheet and remember to bring it and how to pitch it away. Like, it just doesn't really happen. So there were a lot of things that I felt that we could still improve on a freestanding tent.
Well, I tell you, the thing that is selling it for me, and it continues to, is the amount of space at the head and the feet. In fact, the almost straight walls. Mm-hmm. Was that an important feature for people? Yeah,
I had never, like, I'm just a passionate hiker from the community, right? So when I'm trying to design a freestanding tent, I'm kind of starting from the same place as anyone, where it's like, how do you make one of these? And freestanding tents are all curves, so it's different than a trekking pole tent, which is all flat surfaces. Yeah. So I was looking at tents and studying them and seeing that you want to have a steep wall there, but initially wasn't too sure on how to achieve that.
Sure.
So that took years of development to get the angles how we wanted it. But you want to make it that's a nice advantage with a freestanding tent, is you can basically trim the footprint by curving the walls steeper around the edges. And we did that more than typical so that it really trims the footprint. So it's for how spacious the tent is. They're still decently sized tents because they're quite spacious tents. So they're not these tiny little tents, but for how spacious they are, they fit into fairly small sites.
And for me, I had one of my first route hike in 2014. I used a tarp tent rainbow, and I hadn't realised I needed to share my tent with my pack. Yeah. So there wasn't a lot of room in there, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So I should have gone for the tarp tent double rainbow, I believe. Mm-hmm. And I went for a double. I had a duplex, ZBS duplex last time.
Nice. Yeah.
And that was fine. Got a lot of condensation in that, but that was still fine. I really enjoyed the tent, and I needed something different. But I'm looking at the size of your X Dome, the 2. Mm-hmm. It looks massive. I mean, it truly looks massive. Would you recommend? I'm a big bloke. I'm 6'2". I'm 200 too many pounds.
Yeah.
And I need to stretch out a bit, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So would you suggest going for a 2-person tent?
Yeah. So because we don't come from the industry and like you hear everybody talk about you should size up on a tent. Like if you're one person, buy a 2-person tent and things like that. I always, coming into this, felt like that was a little bit silly. Like, why don't we just make tents a decent size? And so
airline seats, they should make those a decent size as well. Yeah.
It is kind of historically been this race to the bottom where you can always make a tent a little bit lighter and a little bit cheaper if you just make the whole thing smaller. But you're better on the specs sheet, but you're maybe not actually helping users. So all of our tents tend to be bigger than average for their size.
Right.
So on the X Dome line, we have the 1 Plus and the 2-person. Yeah. The 1 Plus it's awfully big. Like for one person, it's like if you read the reviews on our site, people are like, it's a palace. It's spacious. Yeah. So for
all the YouTube videos as well.
Yeah. And then the 2-person, if you look at just the floor dimensions, it looks like a nice size, but it doesn't look that big. But really what makes it feel big is that the walls are almost straight up and down. So a lot of tents are going to slope in a lot.
Sure.
And it's tall. It's 43 inches inside. Most tents are going to be more like 38 to 40. So you're getting sort of 3 to 6 inches more headroom.
And yours is not only that, the more headroom, but it's more headroom over more space as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's not just a peak. Like if a tent was a perfect dome, it'd just be one spot. But we spread that out with the crossbar and with other shaping to be more. And that really helps today with everyone going to thicker pads. I think the tent industry is lagging a little bit because the height of tents hasn't really changed, but pads have gone from being an inch to being 3 inches, which is just a couple more inches that everybody needs inside. They are increasing, but so for the question, for most people, I would recommend the One Plus because it is pretty big. It's tall inside. It's 2-person width at one end, and then basically it's a wedge-shaped interior. So it's about 2-person width at one end, where you'd probably have your head, and then 1-person width at the other end. So you can absolutely put a dog or a backpack beside you, especially at the one end of the tent. And if your upper body's at that end, you can just have your pad in the middle and have 1.5 feet of extra space on both sides for elbow room.
That's the bit. I don't like my backpack at my head end at all. I don't. Part of anything else is the bloody smell of all the stuff in it. So I'm totally against that. I'm thinking the 2-person. Do you still think it might be a bit overkill? Put it another way. If you were heading out on a through hike of the Appalachian Trail, which of your tents would you take, and why?
Yeah, that's a good question. By
the way, I know you can't diss any of your tents because I know you. This is not great marketing.
If I was going, so it's going to depend on your values. If I was trying to really go fast, which is not what most people are doing, but if I was trying to go fast, the X Mid Pro the weight on it's amazing. It's under 1 pound. It's just amazing, but it does require more skill, and it's a single wall. So in the humid, wet environments, it's a real trade-off. You got to be willing to deal with that. But if I was trying to do some speed record or something, that'd be the one I'd reach for. Right. If I was doing
I'm not, by the way.
like a normal through hike, then I like a double wall in those conditions. And so it'd either be an X Mid 1 or for me an X Dome 1, where I would make the choice probably on how much I value the convenience of freestanding.
Right.
It's 200 grams to not have to sort of be able to move your tent and be able to think about it. And it's bigger. The X Dome 1 Plus is bigger than the X Dome 1. So 200 grams is getting you space and convenience. Where if somebody's valuing that, which you would be, if you're the kind of person that's not out to like be absolute the lightest, but you're willing to put a bit of weight into a more comfortable experience.
I am, definitely.
Then that's kind of, it's not a big weight penalty for the One Plus. And then the 2-person, I personally I'm kind of like conflicted on them. I personally find them more space than I need. And I thought, people aren't going to want them solo because they're almost too much space. But then tons of people love them. They're like, this is amazing. I love being able to be organized. Sure. And if you want your backpack inside and not the vestibule, I keep mine in the vestibule.
Right.
If you want it inside and you want to be able to stretch out your arms, then the 2-person would be the right move. If you were going to put your backpack in the vestibule, then the One Plus probably.
This is going to sound set up. It's not. I haven't told Dan this at all, but I wanted him to say that. That's exactly what I wanted. I wanted you to convince me that in my mind, the X Dome 2 was right for me. But look, I'm going to order it today, in fact, in that case. But look, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing the story about the tents with me. Hopefully the audience will learn something from it as well, and they will recognize from their own values what they choose.
Yeah.
So I wish you well with whatever tent you develop in the future, and look out for an order from me in the near future. All right?
Yeah. Thanks so much. Good luck on your third hike.
Okay, mate. Cheers then. Bye. What a nice fella, eh? He really helped me in my choice of tent. I don't know if you've checked out his range of tents, but pretty much all the reviews on YouTube are glowing reviews. So I was sure that I wanted one of these portable palaces on my latest hike, especially as the older I get, the more comfortable I like to be. The extra weight on the tent I chose is fairly negligible in the scheme of things, so I'm happy with the choice I made. And to let you know what that choice is, here's this week's accountability blog. So this week has moved me forward a bit and backwards a bit. Let's start with the backwards to get it out of the way, because it is kind of embarrassing. But this is an accountability blog, and I want you to know when things go wrong as well as when they go right. I've been pretty proud of myself with the progress I've been making in the first months of my physical preparation, and I certainly feel many intangible benefits and a general sense of well-being, which I'm sure has to do with the endorphins that regular exercise seems to generate. I feel really good right now, so even if I wasn't preparing to go on a long walk, I'd be thankful for the benefits that this program's given me. Having said all that, I came to a skidding halt this week. Monday morning, I was due to meet my trainer, Luis, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'd actually double booked him at 11 a.m. along with a guest recording, so I reached out and asked if he could push the appointment till later on. I was looking forward to it and had a quiet morning doing that recording and a few other podcasty things and not overeating and all that good stuff. It was the first of the month, so I knew I'd be having another weigh-in with Luis, and I truly didn't want to have gained weight in this, my first month. Well, it's ridiculous this. I was folding some laundry in my bedroom with all my clothes on the bed when a bloody cat, Holly, started walking across the bed and my shirts towards me. I quickly leaned down from my waist and reached out to her to nudge her aside, and I felt a tweak in my hamstring. Really, just that. It was a movement I must have done 1,000 times, but as soon as I started trying to walk, I felt it clearly. How frustrating. I drove to my appointment hoping that I could use their massage chair to mitigate the pull, but it didn't seem to help, and I continued with the session with Luis, concentrating on my arms and not my legs. I tried the massage chair at the end again, but it really hasn't improved over these last couple of days. Luis suggested I should stay away from the gym, possibly for the rest of the week, but I may be back there on Thursday morning as you're listening to this. We did the full body scan that revealed that my weight loss has pretty much been non-existent, while my legs have gained musculature, yet my arms have actually lost some. I don't know what to tell you. I've kept a sensible diet, yet I'm largely... Now, there's an appropriate word if ever I heard one. I'm largely the same weight and shape I was a month ago. But I'm hanging on to how I feel. I know that this is helping me, so I'll keep at it. But I'd love it if the numbers would show a little more progress. Better luck next time, I suppose. So that's the physical preparation. Let's talk about my gear some more. Following my conversation with Dan, which you heard just now, I went back and forth with myself, checked out more YouTube videos, and finally pulled the trigger Wednesday morning and went ahead and bought the Durston X-Dome 2 after all. As you heard, I kind of wanted him to ease me into that decision, and I think it came down to being about the freestanding tent and the double wall, which should help with condensation. That interior is so inviting as well, and the thought of having space above my head when I lay down at night is very exciting for me. I didn't go for the solid version, I went for the regular with the bug netting. As I told Dan, I've got all that space in the vestibule and I want to see it. That vestibule looks so awesome that I'll easily be able to cook there on those tricky rainy mornings. Along with the tent, I splashed out on the Durston ground sheet to protect the bathtub floor, and all in all, I'm very excited to get it in the next week or so and see how it stacks up, even if the first time I get into it will be in my back garden. I did make another decision this week, and that was the pack. But I'm going to save that choice until next week when I'll be speaking with somebody from Hyperlight Mountain Gear as he helps me make that decision. I'm not somebody who normally overthinks these things, but I do like the fact that I was given expert advice from Dan this week, along with Max next week. I think being engaged in this process of working out what I take with me, along with my physical preparation, has given me more insights into why gear nerds are gear nerds. As I say, I generally don't overthink things, and I often end up with my first choice in something. Yet I've enjoyed paying attention, I suppose, and I feel I'll be prepared as I can be when I hit the trail in March. People have continued to reach out with offers of help along the way, so I'm feeling especially loved by you all as I go on this third through hike. Thanks to all of you who send me notes of encouragement. It truly means a lot to me. Yeah. It probably wasn't the biggest surprise to you all that I stuck with the X-Dome 2. It's bloody huge, and I'm sure I won't regret having all that space. Believe me, I can spread out in a tent, so having places to put stuff and not get in my way is a big plus as far as I'm concerned. I'll let you know my first impressions when it turns up, and we'll probably have a picture of it set up in my back garden. And as far as my hamstring is concerned, well, I hope it's going to be okay in the next couple of days, and I shall be back to full training the next time we speak. So that's a wrap once more. We're into December now, with 2026 just around the corner. Where on earth has 2025 gone? I feel that March the 10th is rushing towards me at lightning speed. Bring it on is what I say. I'll see you next week.